Welcome, here we are. Welcome, everybody. We're thrilled to have Rutherford Pascal here today. And instead of reading his whole bio, just a reminder that he was in the pharmaceutical industry for over 30 years and was a head of sales, and is going to really get into more of the nitty gritty today around the mindset, belief, and conviction. And I will just say that, Rutherford, thank you for being here. He's positioned as a leadership executive, does many presentations and keynotes. So, with that said, Rutherford, you're ready to go. And then with all this time change, etc., unfortunately, I'm going to be leaving here and Doug's going to pick up and follow through on everything. So here we go, and you're all set. Thanks again.
Hey, thanks, Connie. I appreciate it. Let me just see if I can get this thing to work. Okay, you're seeing this big screen, right? Just at this gentleman on the left.
We do.
All
Thank
right,
you.
all right. So Connie's right. I'm going to talk to you about mindset. So it's probably going to be a little different than what you're used to with the sales roundtable, talking about tools and sales funnels and different things to put in to grow your business. And all of those things are important. But what I will tell you, um, being as a leader for 30 years, to me, the most important thing that I did and I could do to grow my people's business and the confidence they had in growing their own business was really belief, right? Believing in your ability to sell. So that's what I'm going to focus on with you today. So a couple of things. Um, what you hopefully you'll get is one or two things that you can add to this. What I'm not going to ask you to change, and like I told you, sales funnels, any tools. I'm going to tell you to take the tools that you have and see how you can make them work for you better by increasing the belief you have in those tools, in yourself, and from a mindset perspective. Okay, so that's what I'm really going to focus on today. And so there's like we talked about, there's plenty of buzzwords out there. There's a lot of automation tools. But that inner game, let me move this. I can't see. Give me a second. It's over here. It's here. Uh, so yeah, so top, I talked about in the inner conviction, top salespeople set apart by their unwavering beliefs. Do you ever see that there's some people that win year in, year out on your team or in industries? You ever wonder why? You're like, why are these same people win all the time? It doesn't matter what happens, COVID, not COVID, great times, bad times, they win. They figure out a way to win. And again, there's that one driving force is that they just believe in things probably a little better than others. So I'm going to tell you I'm going to give you some things to do to help improve that belief, right? First, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories. One personal that happened to me as a first line leader, and then another one that you might know this person's name. So, the one thing I'll talk about when I say belief, I don't only mean belief, I mean irrational belief. The reason I say this irrational belief is if you think rationally, you'll get average results. Average, mediocre, or less than that results in any aspect. If you look around on your desk, you look on the screen, everything you see there was built because somebody had an irrational belief. This thing we have on called Zoom, before this was an irrational belief in somebody to put this together to get everybody in all countries seeing each other at one time, be able to communicate very, very smoothly. Just think about that as how irrational that was to other people, right? So in order for these great things to happen, and I'll say this word. This is not bombastic at all, but everything that's great was built from an irrational belief. And if you want to challenge me on that after, I will love to get into a conversation with you about that. So let me tell you with this first personal story about Rebecca. So this is 15, 20 years ago. I was a first line leader for one of the big pharmaceutical company, and they had just hired me to sell this product you've all heard of. It was for Ritalin, but it was for a short-acting Ritalin. So we're relaunching this Ritalin in a short-acting form. And one of my reps, Rebecca, she told me that she was going to market the drug using frogs. And I was lost. I have no idea what she's talking about. She said, I'm going to use frog stickers. I'm going to have erasers. I'm going to do all these frog things. I said, tell me more. And she said, well, I want people to think about frogs and say, let's leap into the school day. And it didn't resonate with me at all, right? Okay. And, I said, all right. So as a first line leader, I'm in the field with her talking to doctors about this drug called Focalin that we're just launching. And after each presentation she gave to doctors, I would ask them questions. I said, so what did you think about that presentation? Did that make sense? Did you like it? And every single one of them said yes. Then I would ask them this question is, are you going to change your writing behavior because of Rebecca's presentation? And they also said yes. And they weren't lying to me because she became the #1 rep in our company a month later. So we launched, and a month later, she was #1 rep in the country because of this frog sale. So I tell you that because it's sort of silly, but what it demonstrated to me was her irrational belief that these frogs or this messaging of frogs would help paint the picture in the physician's brain to write this for the patients that needed it just for the first 4 hours of the day. And I'll never, it's the
I
message.
100% need a new camera.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. That sounded like Erica to me. Let's see.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
That's okay, Erica. I thought you had a story that you wanted to talk about with Rebecca. I thought you might have known Rebecca. No, it's no issue.
She was clearly inspired by the story, which we all were. Thank
I
you.
actually am. So
Go ahead. Oh, you wanted to say something? Okay, all right. No, so it's true because of her passion, right? That's what happened. It's her belief, right? So that's a personal story. Let me tell you about somebody else that you might know. Have you guys ever heard of John Assaraf? Right? So Connie, you have, and a few others probably have too. So so he's got 4 books out. 2 of them are New York Times bestsellers. His last thing is Inner Size, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about his first company. He built this real estate company, Remax, in St. Louis. So he built this company, and he was being interviewed like for the St. Louis Business Journal or something like that. And they were talking to him, and he told them, he goes, I'm going to build this company into a $1 billion real estate company within the first 5 years. And the reporter or the interviewer said, so that there's never been a $1 billion real estate company in the St. Louis market, and 2 companies have been here one for 80 years, the other for 100 years. And he said, yeah, I do know that. He said, you go back and tell them I'm going to be the first. So he built this sales team of real estate agents, did all the techniques, did all the training, tapes, all the things typical. And within 5 years, he did build a $1 billion company. But what was interesting is that stayed 1.1, 1.2 billion for the next 3 or 4 years. And John was frustrated by this. What he saw was the sales associates, the real estate agents who were making 10,000 a month were continually making 10,000 a month. And the ones who are making 20,000 were making 20. There was no real change. There was really no growth. He was very frustrated by that because he gave them every selling technique known out there, and they weren't growing. They basically stopped it at a billion. So he took 75 of these real estate agents, 75 of them, and all he did was tell them that he wanted them to visualize and with using affirmations, and he did it. They did it every morning, and after 6 months of that, those 75 real estate agents increased their business by $100 million. Just those 75. So then he took it to all the rest of these sales reps, and he went from, within 4 years, went from 1.1, 1.2 billion to 4.5 billion. And it was just because he instituted this different, they just believed at a higher level than they normally would. And so I bring this to you because people talk about belief and talk about sales, and sometimes it sounds just like it's woo-woo or it's just spirit. No, so what I'll say to you is I think of belief as confidence. The higher confidence that I have in myself, my ability, the tools that I'm using, whatever I'm doing, the greater it's going to come out to my audience. And that's what I want you to think about. So he did this. So daily visualization, they just use positive affirmation. The confidence boost was tremendous. And the results were, as I just said, remarkable. I mean, it's amazing what you can build if you focus on some of these things, right? So that's what I wanted to show you. So the next thing I'm going to give you a guess. I want you to guess these people. All these people's belief. You've heard these people. I'm going to give you their belief, and you tell me who it is. Okay, you guys can come off mute to do this. Okay. So the first person that believes someday everybody will be able to pronounce my name. Who said that? You all know this person. Who do you think said that? What's that?
Barack Obama?
Yeah, no.
Muhammad Ali.
No, but good guess. Good guess.
Well, Kamala Harris.
No, it was actually Arnold Schwarzenegger, right?
Get in the chopper.
Yeah, right? And so think about, what he did and how he did it. So he not only said this, he went from bodybuilding to wanting to be a film star. He wanted to be a lead film star, and they told him, you can't do that. You're a bodybuilder. You're not do that. And he persisted, believed in himself, and he wanted to make. Everyone was making $20 million of film back then. Those lead actors, and he became one of them. One of the five, if you remember. So very good. Let me give you the next one. I want to make humans a multi-planetary species.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
Wow, that was too easy. That was too easy. Yes, that was definitely Elon, and obviously that was with SpaceX and different things. There's a third one. I will overcome my circumstances and make a difference. This is the hardest one.
Oprah.
Oh my God, very good, honey. This is definitely the hardest one. It is Oprah. It is Oprah. And I'm not going to go over her story, but if those of you who know what she came from and her teenage years and what she did to overcome, it's simply amazing, and it's the power of belief. Also, you know that she starred in The Color Purple, right? And you know that she had never acted before, but the only role she wanted was that role in The Color Purple. And she did all these different things similar to what John Assaraf did with his team. She did it with herself, and she got that role. So another thing on belief, right? Okay, you should get this one. We're going to put a computer in the hands of everyday people.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs. Now think about when he said this. You know when he said this? When there weren't even laptops at the time. He said this when you had these monitors that were huge, big things. And this is, that's why I'm talking about this irrational belief. Think about somebody saying that when all that stuff's happening. And now, as you know, the cell phone has more power than Apollo 11 going up in space, which is crazy. Apollo 11, think about that. Last one. I'm going to be the best tennis player in the world.
Venus Williams.
Close.
Serena Williams.
Serena Williams. You can't get close to that. Yeah, Serena Williams. So she said that. I will give you a bonus one. It's not on here. So this person said that they were going to be the #1 pop star in the world. Said it over and over again. They were going to be the #1 pop star.
Madonna?
Michael Jackson?
Taylor Swift.
Michael Jackson. And his brother said, he would stand on a chair and say it in front of the mirror when he was 7, 8, 9 years old. He would say it over and over again. And so again, this power of belief. So I tell you, I show you that all that stuff, right? It's really important. Those are just words. Like everything that they just said was words. Now you got to put all this thing into action. You just don't get the results to get to be Arnold Schwarzenegger as we know it, and Michael Jackson as we know it, or Oprah Winfrey by saying things. There's got to be work. There's got to be work put in to make that happen. And so this is what we're going to talk about for the rest of the time, is really the things that you have to do to help increase the belief with your team and yourself. So can I ask for just like I can't see this. Let me see if I can get the screen. But so can you raise your hands or put something in the chat box of if you are either if you have a team, if you lead a team, if you're part of a team, or if you're solo, if you're just an entrepreneur. So this will all of this will be applicable to you. Every single thing that we talk about will be applicable, because you can do this for somebody that you might think is not. You see all the talent, but they're not realizing it. Maybe that's something we can do that you're going to find in the next few slides, next few conversations, that will help them make a huge difference in growing their business at some shape, matter, or form. Okay. So this is a system that I put together, right? And I call it the PID system. And it's so this system you don't have to take in totality. Again, it's just one point, and just understand the concept, and I'll give you examples to help. The PID stands for, the P stands for preparation, the I is intentionality, and the D is differentiation. Okay, so preparation, intentionality, differentiation. And I want you to go back and think about those 5 people I just talked about before. And if you put those things into how they got to be successful, how they got to grow in their career and think differently, it's one or 2 of those things that made them that way. And they rode that to the levels to get to the levels that they are in now. Let me start with preparation. So this is going to sound pretty pedestrian to you. So you got to know your product, but and I should say know your product or services. But what I'm going to tell you is, when I say know your product or services, it's the deep understanding of knowing it from every angle and every situation. And you also want to know where somebody could come at you and say, this is not going to work because of this. It's too expensive because of this. It's too small. It doesn't fit. So that knowledge is what I'm talking about. And there's got to be this deep understanding. So when I was a leader going to the pharmaceutical industry, and I would go out and talk to physicians with a rep. And when you typically you'll have less than 2 minutes in front of a physician because they're seeing patients, they're busy, and they're typically not in a good mood. So you want to capture their attention, ask them a couple of questions, answer those questions, and give them information so they know how and where to use your medication. That's basically what that is, right? So what would happen is a rep would walk into a doctor's office. They would start the presentation. They had a goal. They had a goal walking in. They wanted to talk about this point, blah, 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 right? And they would ask a doctor a question. The doctor would answer the question, and the rep would not listen, and they would go to another point or to get to their agenda, and they would close the sale, maybe. And then I would get in the car with them and I'd say, so tell me about the call. What happened in that call? And they go, I thought it was a really good call. Oh yeah, you did. Tell me why. And they would say some things, and I would ask, I said, do you remember what he said when you asked him the question about efficacy? And I'm telling you this, 95% of the time they would say, no, I don't remember. Because they weren't listening. And the reason that they weren't listening is they didn't want to answer a question. They were so fixed on their presentation and on their goal, they didn't listen to the doctor. The more prepared, and I would ask them, I said, how well do you know the studies? And they would go like, we know them really well. How well do you know the product information? I know it cold. So you should be able to answer every question the doctors ask you. And they go, yeah, I think I can. And when I was able to get them to stop just trying to go after their goal and ask good questions, then listen to the doctor and answer the doctor, because of the confidence they had in their ability from the preparation standpoint, their business grew, right? So does that make sense to everybody? Okay, all right. So that's the knowing the product. It's just not simple know the product. Yeah, I know this. I passed the test and training. I've done this. It's this ridiculously deep understanding of the product, and you can attack it anyway. So that's one thing. If somebody on your team is not performing as well as you think they could, you might want to go back to how deeply do they understand the service or product, and can they attack it in any way? So I talked to you about the product. Now it's really understanding the client, and the research you should be doing in the client is pretty obvious. And there's many more tools today than there was when 2 years ago, not even 5 years ago, 2 years ago, to understand the client more. But that's really important. So in this situation, spin selling is a technique that is greatly used to uncover these clients. Can I get somebody come off mute and explain what spin selling is to the rest of us?
I'm not really. Oh, go ahead, please, please.
I don't know. I would love to hear
Is that the like uh situation problem like is it implication? I forgot.
That is correct. That is correct. So it's basically those four things. That's what's called spin, and then so those. It's basically a questioning technique, right? So you want to ask questions in all those four areas. It's not important that you know spin. It's a tech. If somebody's deficient in asking great questions, spin selling techniques, I mean, I just go over and read about them, and then you can utilize them, because that's what it's really good for, is getting great questions asked of your customer to understand them better, right? So I said, listen, I use spin selling, but I didn't use it like they promote it or sell it, right? What I would tell every one of my reps and every manager is, I want you to learn something new about your customer on every visit. Every visit. So what did you learn? Because if you don't learn something new, I think you wasted a call. You wasted your time, because if you're not, something new is happening all the time, because things aren't stagnant at all. They're always changing and evolving, and you can learn something new about what's happening from a marketplace perspective, from an office or business perspective. There's so many things. So continue to ask questions instead of being complacent in things I know everything about. I know everything about this customer. And that's the problem that I see, is people talk about they think that they know everything about their customer. They've been calling on them. They know it, and things change, and they've never bothered to be inquisitive, to ask questions that they don't know. So spin selling is a really good technique to utilize in that situation. Let me tell you that this is a story about St. Augustine's High School. St. Augustine's High School is an all-black boys' high school in New Orleans, Louisiana. And the St. Augustine's was established in 1951. And if you think about 1951 in New Orleans, and by the way, this school is in the 9th Ward of New Orleans, which is the poorest area of New Orleans and Louisiana. And you think about the messaging that these boys got from society, from parents, they about their ability. They were not looked upon as achievers. They were less smart than everybody else in the community. Every single message they received from media, from friends, from things, was they were not going to amount to much because of their upbringing, because of being black men. They were not going to do anything. So, but St. Augustine, what they did was they wanted to change that messaging in a big way. So one of the things that they did is they did these daily messaging reminders. So 3 times a day, right before the first class, at lunchtime, at the end of the day, on the loudspeaker, they would come out and they would say, "Gentlemen, prepare yourself. You're going to run the world." And they said this 3 times a day, over and over again. Right? So it's starting to imprint in the student's brain. Some of the learnings they got was, it's not the will to win that's important, it's the will to prepare to win. And that was said by Vince Lombardi, right? And that was some of the learnings that they got. They talked about preparation in a big way in this high school. So they were very great at preparing their students to be successful and to win. And the lesson that they learned was there was no excuses because nobody cares, right? That was a huge lesson. There's no excuses, just no excuses. Nobody cares. You know, do your job, understand everything, and you will succeed. Now, again, this is this started in 1951 and 50s and 60s and 70s. This school produced so many talented people, right? The Ivy League recruiters would tell people that if you got a student from St. Augustine High School, you would not be disappointed because they would perform very well at any Ivy League school because they were prepared. They also had this 40 of these students are in the NFL. You think about this little school in New Orleans, that's 40 players in the NFL, 15 in the NBA, many doctors, many lawyers were successful. I couldn't find the graduation rate. All they said it was higher than anywhere else in the country, right? By the way, of us all black schools, all private schools, it was that good of a school. So these things they took these negative messages that they were hearing from society, and because of the daily imprint they're making to students, they were able to change the way they thought about themselves, and they grew on in a regular basis. So I'm going to stop there to ask you guys, is there somebody that wants to come up mute and talk to me about anything that they do or they've seen from a preparation standpoint that has made a difference? Erica?
I am resonating with what you're saying very much because I'll go back to your real estate example. And what I found, I've been in the real estate industry for over 20 years. And when I was managing and mentoring, what I did was I took the experiences that I had, which were not positive when I first got into real estate, and I flipped the script to work with new agents or even experienced agents on that mindset piece. What I mean is when I began, it was like, yeah, you have to go talk to people, get people to want to work with you, come back and let me know if you have any questions. It was just throwing you in the water and hoping you could swim.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So my approach became, let's sit down together. Let me get to know you, because you cannot just take a blanket statement and say, go out there and do this if you have someone who's introverted and they're just going to sit at home and not know how to approach people. So it got to be about knowing who they were, how they operate, building on their strengths, and having role play based on, all right, let's take your personality and here's how you can take that and have conversations with people. And it was eye-opening for them. And coupled that with working with them as many times as needed on the art of the interview of the customers, like you talked about. And I said, there is an art to it. You find out about that person. It's not asking them, what kind of commercial building are they buying or what kind of home do they want? The rooms are irrelevant. It is how they look at themselves living in that property or utilizing that property that's key. And I said, once you understand that on the first meeting, you can basically walk them into the property in a very efficient space of time.
Yeah, because they're going to want to talk to you, going to want to deal with you for the reason we talked about earlier is that you listen to them. You actually ask them a
Exactly.
question,
Exactly.
you listen to the car. I was at I bought a new car last year, and this is something that I think has happened to every one of us at car dealerships because they get a bad rep because a lot of them deserve it. Not all of them, but a lot of them. That, here's what I want, here's what I want it for, and they give me something that fits neither of those needs. Did we just, I mean, so that's the thing that's frustrating, that people could change easily. So Michael Quigley, did you, I think you had your hand up also?
Yeah, I just want to say this is absolutely fantastic. Multiple reasons. The irrational belief thing, I totally agree with that because I started a business with a completely irrational belief that fuels everything I do. But then the second part, like you said about the school, once you believe that belief's actually going to happen, then you just start to prepare as if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you start to do the prep, and then lo and behold, it actually starts to happen. The thing you said about no one cares, I love that because I tell that to my team all the time. I'm like, nobody cares out of business. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We care. Nobody cares, so don't worry. That's really good. And the final thing, which I think is amazing, two things. I've just written myself another card. I have cards I look at every day. So thanks to you, I've just updated my card. That's the first new one I've written in 6 years. The thing you said about listening is absolutely so true because there's a book, The Trusted Advisor's Field Book by Charles H. Green, brilliant. When he talks about low self-orientation, it's exactly what you were just talking about. High self-orientation, it's all about me. I want to make the sale. You need my stuff because I need my commission, man. Low self-orientation is like, let's do the right thing for you. And then that builds the trust, which gets you, the relationship. And as somebody who started a business with no sales experience and based it on that kind of stuff, the results they get are incredible. And all my best sales have come from listening to my customers. They've told me what they wanted and they've gone, will you do that? And I go, yeah. Rather than I've got this, you want it? And they go, no. So honestly, it's brilliant. This is fantastic. Thank you so much.
The thing is, the customers always tell you what you want, what they want. They always tell you, right?
Yeah.
If you ask the right question.
Yeah.
If you ask the right question, they'll tell you. Go ahead, Michael.
I was just going to say the format. To give you a practical example, I've got videos, and one of my clients said, "I love your videos, but I don't watch them." Like, what? And she's like, no, I'm too busy. So make a podcast, make an audio thing. I'd listen to it. So I said, if I made it, would you listen to it? And she said, yes. And then I did. So it wasn't my idea. And I've, now have the humility to try and do that all the time rather than say, I've got a good idea. So thank you. This is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, good. Anybody else with preparation?
Well, I was thinking about, thank you. First of all, thank you very much. Thank you, Erica, as well. Putting together just an array of brilliant, focused people doing good in the world. I appreciate all of you so much. And the opportunity to share a little bit. Two things. One is helping, thinking about not the customer or client, but thinking about leading the team, preparing people to go out. What is the payoff for you? Helping people really get clear what's on the line. Once you're really clear what's on the line for you, you're willing to take bigger chances, right? It's not just a rational belief for me, it includes irrational behavior. I've got some great stories about things I've done that have raised millions of dollars. And I think what's helped me help people get past what stops them is relating back to putting everyone, when you don't understand what someone's doing, picture them in a loincloth. Right?
Yeah.
So it's my tribal methodology. Our instinct is not changeable in 100 years. We have thousands of years of survival techniques that include very real fears. To be rejected is so big for people where it doesn't seem like it should be in today's world because it automatically flips us into lizard brain, amygdala. We know that to be rejected by the tribe is certain death. So for us, rejection equates to a death. What's going to make me face death? The payoff. If my child is in front of a train, I'm not going to think twice about it.
Mhm.
Right? So literally having to up the ante for people. And what happens is we get locked into accepting our circumstances. So there's a process I take people through until they finally break down and actually get connected to their dreams again, to their hope, to their vision. And it takes some doing. Some people can do it in, 10 minutes, 15, people, it's an hour, 2 days, right? It takes some doing to get past all the things that they have cushioned themselves with so that they won't be disappointed. So those are the techniques that I have found have helped unleash people with the goal of becoming unstoppable.
Oh, that's great.
And I love, yeah, about it being irrational, because that's irrational too.
Yeah, it is.
And
I'm
it
going to
works.
get to I'm going to get to the thing in just the second, I think on the last point. So intentionality, right? So I'm sorry, John, I just saw your hand go up. Let me get to intentionality, then I'll come to you, okay? So setting these goals, so really important. So you've heard all of us have heard the statement about how do you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right? And what that really is you don't believe that you're going to finish that elephant until a couple of weeks go by and that elephant looks smaller, right? The goal looks closer. The thing, whatever you're achieving looks attainable. So when I led people, I've always talked about them breaking stuff down into these smallest increments. Really small increments. How many calls you're going to make in the first hour? Let's have a goal for number of hours. How many, it was the smallest, because you wanted to tick off that success, because that success actually fuels them to grow faster. If you think of what's going to happen at the end of the quarter, end of the year, it's too long and it's too big and it doesn't seem attainable. That daily focus, mindset is that intentionality that would help us from a goal setting standpoint. You do it from a relationship building too. We talked about this, I think, with Erica, building trust, listening, emphasizing that there's an intentionality to doing this and we can discuss this, but be intentional about this. Prospecting purposeful for lead prioritization. Identify high value leads, and then go after them, right? Go after that. So you focus your time on the most likely to convert leads and bring the highest value to the organization. So let me go into this example I'll give you for intentionality. So every year around August, year-end close, I would talk to people about, first of all, the typical thing, how many more selling days do you have in the year, right? And oh yeah, we have 92 days to sell. And why was it so important in a Q4, if you're a year-end company, is because of Thanksgiving, Christmas, and depending on your business, some customers, they take the last 2 years off. Excuse me, the last 2 weeks off of the year, right? Some people take the entire week of Thanksgiving and they have vacations. They go. So knowing how your customers are where your customers are going to be in that last 4 months are really critical. But more importantly, we worked on a tier system. So we had our customers based on tier 1 through 4. Tier 1s were our highest, most important customers. Tier 4s were our lowest. So in Q4, year end, I would have people schedule out their tier 1s and tier 2 presentation calls to make sure that they wouldn't miss that they would miss. And I would actually have them, if they were calling on them once every 4 weeks, maybe once every 3 weeks at the end of the year, right? Does that make sense? Because that's the intentionality that has to go in to growing your business, getting your sales. You got to do things from an intentional mindset in order to get in places that you want to go. I just heard this story this week or last week. There was a wine shop that played music and they played music every day. So when they wanted to sell more French wine, they played French music, French classical music, and the French wine sales went up. And when they wanted to sell German wine, they did the same thing. When you ask the people buying, the customer, they didn't even notice. At least they said they didn't notice, but it happened 100% of the time. So that intentionality with, okay, here's what I wanna, I wanna sell more German wine. I'm gonna play these music this week. It's that kind of thing. So that seems silly and small, but it's not. It's not. But if it drives more sales, it's not silly. If it's not manipulative, right? It's something that worked by getting the German music into the customer's mind, and it sold more wine, right? Pretty interesting. Can anybody want to talk about anything they've done from an intentionality standpoint? Any thoughts? Go ahead, Erica.
I would just say I'm very intentional with my words. And over time, I'm from the East Coast, so I used to speak very, very quickly. And it was just like, let's go, let's go, let's go. But over time, I've adjusted that and I'm very intentional. And it probably is frustrating for a fast speaker. I try to speed it up a little bit, but I am slower because I'm deliberate with what I say. And I believe in the word choices you use drive everything. I strongly believe that. So I teach that to my daughters. People that I interact with. It's like be mindful of the words that you choose. And really quickly, just before we hop off, I want to say this with words, not in the chat. I love what you're saying here, and I feel that we all, as leaders, team leaders, business leaders, everything, that we have a great opportunity to reverse all the negativity that is out there. I think each one of us should be empowered to share our experiences, our talent, everything that we possess in this amazing group of people with others, because I think it needs to be in voice, not through social media, not through texting. It needs to be voiced just like you're doing. So I truly am grateful to you for bringing this to us.
Oh,
It's
no problem.
so important.
No problem. It's what's funny is that people don't realize how intentional things can do to grow their business. So I do coach people, and I coach people on how to grow their careers. And one of the things that I'll talk to people about in growing their careers so I talked to somebody yesterday about, she said, okay, I'm a first line leader, and I've been told that I could be could be a second line leader. So I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to think about from an intention. I said, so you know that you meet with your team of other first line leaders, 5 or 6 of them on a regular basis, correct? Yes. Does your zone director send you an agenda? Yes. Do you ever look at that agenda? Well, I look at it. I said, so does everybody else, but they do nothing about it. So that the zone leader sends an agenda out. This is what we're going to talk about, and everybody just looks at it and just like they file it. I said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to take a look at the agenda and pick 1 or 2 points on the agenda where you can add value. So you want to do some more work, ask questions to your reps, talk about with customers, so you can bring greater value to every single time you have a conversation with your team and your boss. And I told her over time, everybody will see that you should be promoted. You should be the next person, right? And at worst, your leaders, the zone, your team wins because you're adding more value, you're growing the business. And I said this, by the way, again, there's no downside to this, because if you bring greater information to the team, they make better decisions and your business grows naturally. And it's just from an intentionality standpoint of how somebody can grow in their career in a very, very easy way, and it's positive for everybody. And I told her that, and she loved it, and I'm sure she will do it too. So just different things to think about from an intentionality standpoint. And the last one, and Dr. Amy, this is kind of what you talked about with differentiating, being unique in some of the things that you've done. And Michael, you talked about trusted advisor. This is different, that unique value proposition. Being different and differentiating yourself with others is so important. It's so key. You position yourself as an expert who provides insights beyond the sale, and you want to be the person that people go to. The question that I would ask each of you, and I'm going to ask each of you this question: what do you think? What is your superpower? What are you known for? If I went to your 5 customers or your 5 people that report to you, what's the one thing they say that makes Michael, Erica, Anthony, and Dr. Amy different? Dr. Amy, can I start with you? What's the one thing about you that's different?
I connect through the heart with people.
That's awesome. That is fantastic. Anthony.
I don't know if I could top that. I think
Yeah,
I think most people would say that I bring positivity and energy and belief to things.
awesome. Erica?
I echo Dr. Amy, the ability to connect with people.
Yeah, good. Michael?
Say what people tell me rather than what I think. I can help people be inspired to believe in themselves that they can do it, but then actually practically show them how, which is really helpful. They tell me.
Yeah, that's great. I'll tell you the thing that differentiated me. You don't, and so what's interesting is you don't have to have green hair or loud outfits. You can do that. By the way, it's just, that's how you differentiate yourself. It's unique. Is it a value proposition? Some maybe not, right? But you are differentiating yourself. The question is, are you adding value? So I will tell you the thing I cared about the most and what I tried to do differently was add value. I wanted to add value to every customer that I went, and I actually talked about it on a regular basis. Am I adding value to the office? Do you want me to come back? And I got into more offices than when I was when I was a sales rep, then other reps would tell me that doctors doesn't see reps. And she saw me, right? And because I added that, and I would tell doctors, I said, listen, if I don't add value, kick me out of the office and never let me back in. And because that was such an important thing to me, that I was adding value, that became what I cared about. That was the differentiating part of, and I always checked in 2-3 calls. Does this make sense? Am I, adding value to you? Is this your office? And so everybody's different, and it's just whatever it is. If it grows your business, if it helps differentiate you, you are a trusted advisor. It's a memorable thing. It's exceptional. That's what you want to think about. You can do it with so here's a couple of things you can do with education, how you educate your customers, how you innovate with your customers, how you elevate in certain situations, bringing new possibilities, right? How do you do these things to make make yourself different, right? And lastly, you can do it with storytelling. So authentic storytelling, how you engage the audience, right? Are you the person with that great personality, or somebody on your team with that great personality that can really drive that engagement, right? And you can do it illustrated by showing examples. You guys both talked about, Erica and Dr. Amy talked about connection, right? How do you connect? So obviously that's the way you do it, but it doesn't matter how you do it. It's that you do it and people know you for that, right? So Doug has this spectacular ability to remember what everybody does. Doug can probably tell you what you did when you're 15 years old in high school, with school. He remembers all that stuff. That is a differentiating thing with Doug, right? If you want somebody to introduce you at any time, it's Doug, right? But it's what differentiates him and what makes him special, what everybody will remember him for, right? Besides the Global Chamber, Doug, not just that, but that's something that's really unique about that. So that's important. So let me I think we're almost done. Is it overtime?
We're just about, it's probably time to wrap up. And by the way, the things that you did in high school, those are between you and I. I won't be sharing any of that, just for
Okay.
discretion.
Okay, let me go over the last slide, and I'll do it really quickly because it's important. So if you don't think belief's important, so this is a mostly arthroscopic knee surgery study. This is actually a study. There's 3 arms of a study, and these 3 arms are standard surgery, a knee joint flush with scleral lavage, and a simulated surgery, which is basically a sham surgery. They did not do surgery. So one, they did surgery, the other one, they did a little bit of flush, and the other one, they did no surgery. And the results, all 3 groups showed similar improvement in pain and function. Think about it. Think about how the mind works. Their expectation of surgery, even though they didn't have it, they had pain gone. That was called the placebo effect, which every study has that in it. So I think, who had their hand up? Anthony, did you have your hand up? Anthony, Anthony, I must think you have to leave. So that's how important belief is in the story. So closing thoughts, beyond tools, success comes from belief, right? I really want you to think about how do you grow your business by just increasing one of those, picking one thing in the preparation, intentionality, differentiation space to grow your leadership, grow your team, belief, and really, really exceed your goals. Okay, and let me end there, Doug.
I don't want it to end. This has been, I've got a page full of notes from this, including the success comes from belief, whether it's irrational or not. In fact, it might be good that it's irrational. I think I took from Michael Quigley, why not? Boy, Michael, what do you think? That was amazing, wasn't it?
It's absolutely brilliant. It's really good as well to know, to be affirmed, because sometimes when we're doing these things that, like Erica's saying, a countercultural, counter narrative, you think, am I doing the right thing? I seem to, I'm not sure. And to hear from people like yourself, Rutherford, who've been there and done it and got the results, for someone like me, it's very affirming. It's like, yeah, keep doing what you're doing. Be irrational. Keep using the approach you're using. I think that's really needed. And I think what the Global Chamber does is create space for these kind of conversations. You've educated us, you've inspired us, you showed us innovation. You've done all these things, and I got 5 pages of notes, Doug, so I'm on to page 6.
Yeah, and interestingly, I thought, Rutherford, that many of my comments or my notes are from other people commenting on you, like Michael or Erica talking about the way she is so, this may not be her words, but I wrote down thoughtful, purposeful, intentional. And it reminded me how she speaks and how impressive that is. And also being from East and from New York, I know we can get very speedy and rapid and wanting to get a lot of stuff out. And and forget all of the things you talked about asking questions and listening and playing off that, particularly in sales. So thank you so much for being so successful. Thank you for this conversation, which was so inspirational and so much information. Thank you for being me at that last event where you did so much better job than I could have done. And I'm just continuing to learn from you. Thank you for all that you do.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Is
Have a
there
great-
anything
great
else that
weekend.
you wanted to say in final comments for
No,
us
I
to
just,
think about?
no, listen, I just want you to think about how to create greater belief in the people that you come in contact with, because that's what it is. And that's the thing that I see is when people believe, they achieve so much greater and they're so much happier. And you want them to believe in things that they're great at. You're finding their strength and then you're building on those strengths. And those are towering strengths that achieve greatness. And that's the thing I've always seen, and I've seen so many times over and over again. So that's where I'll end with.
Believe. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank
All right,
you.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye.